Good noon, everyone. It is an honor for me to interact with you through this prestigious platform of VC Lecture Series. Communication is not an unheard of term because we communicate day in, day out. You must be wondering, why am I still here to talk about it when people of all ages communicate by default? The point to ponder is that why did I choose such a topic which occurs involuntarily? Well, it may sound very common to many, but it's a very special companion to me. What to talk, when to talk, and how to talk is the magic potion. As human interaction is crucial in all contexts, today we'll deliberate upon the role of emotional intelligence in effective communication, and I'll share my understanding in context. We often say, oh, he's a good communicator. He speaks really well. On the lighter note, not only he, she speaks really well too. I have to safeguard myself. So when I say this, I'm sure a few names must have flashed on your mind quickly. And now, if I behest you to think of a few such you feel communicate effectively, you'll again wonder, is it not one and the same thing? Anyways, did the same name strike, or there were a few different ones also? Certainly, to me, there were a few different ones also. When I thought of those who are good at communication, probably it was those who make the best use of language and possess good stage presence. As speakers, they may appeal to us in the moment. In the moment is what I am emphasizing on. However, when in hindsight, I recall the effective communicators, it is those who leave an indelible mark on us. They are the ones who influence and inspire us towards a cause. So, what are the essential ingredients for ensuring the communication to be effective? We often say, so what are the good ingredients? So talking about the good or effective, it is the power of the 7 associates who ideally should be present together. Professor Cutlip and Ellen Center of University of Wisconsin gave a robust model of communication in their book, Effective Public Relations, which is considered to be the second of the 10 commandments of business. When making any interaction, one must be clear about the goal or message and the purpose of communication. Information regarding the action required must be clear. In a complete message, the audience has everything they need to be informed, and it includes a call to action so that they know what they are expected to do. A considerate communication is logical. All points are connected and relevant to the main topic, and the tone and flow of the text is consistent. Coming to the next, which is concreteness. When the message is concrete, the audience has a clear picture of what is being told. There are details, but of course not too many, and vivid facts, and there's a laser-like focus, and the message is solid. The courteousness is all about being friendly and open, and also being honest in one's communication. There are no hidden insults or passive or aggressive tones. Certainly, no curt or terse language, and no puns intended. They are a big no. The audience viewpoint is kept in mind, and the speaker is empathetic to their needs. Looking at the 6th element, which is conciseness, in a concise communication, The speaker sticks to the point and keeps it brief. One cannot keep beating behind the bush. It has to be precise and concise. The correctness is all about the correct communication means which fits your audience to a suitable audience and is also error-free. Now, allow me to share a few excerpts from very famous speeches. However, I request you to focus on the essence of the speeches. The first to go, I'm sure most of us have heard of this. Give me blood and I shall give you freedom. In this, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose urged the people of India to join him in his fight for freedom. Looking at the second one, a little longer, long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes when we shall redeem our pledge. At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom. These words were uttered by Pandit Nehru on the eve of independence of our nation. It is considered to be a landmark oration that captures the essence of the triumphant. Looking at the next speech, it still is a little longer, maybe a little trickier for a few, but most of us still must have come across these powerful words, "We shall fight on the beaches." I have myself full confidence that if all do their duty, if nothing is neglected, and if the best arrangements are made, as they are being made, we shall prove ourselves once again able to defend our island home, to ride out the storm of war, and to outlive the menace of tyranny. If necessary, for years, if necessary alone, we shall fight on the beaches. This is arguably Churchill's most impassioned and enduring speech as Britain's Prime Minister. When he delivered it, the globe was in the grip of World War II. Churchill had to accomplish a very delicate balance in this speech. He had to describe the reality of a terrible situation while still ensuring his audience a victory was in their grasp. Certainly from these excerpts, we can construe that it's the significance of communication which is being pointed at. We must have heard these speeches innumerable times. Though these have written our history, yet they are powerful enough to ignite in us the patriotic fervor even today. One common thing about all the leaders' communication is that they touch the emotional chord of their followers to sensitize them towards the bigger picture. It brings around a revolution and motivates the followers to take action for goal attainment. From such examples, we can visualize the power of communication. But the question is, what makes them so impactful? What do you think is that element? Is it the choice of words or the way they are spoken? Certainly, these are important. However, it's the emotional quotient which is momentous for any communication, in absence of which the speech will be only a bouquet of flowery expressions and not concrete. Combining emotional intelligence with effective communication is like making and presenting your case, which means that you will be able to persuade people your point of view by simply telling them what to do. It also helps others to accept a productive, goal-based approach to tasks. As we have seen, the emotional quotient is momentous for communication. Now we look at the three components of emotionally intelligent oratory skills, which makes it very powerful. The first element is style. A great speech must be masterfully constructed. The best orators are masters of words to create texts that are congenial to hear. What does substance mean? The second in order here. A good orator must center on a worthy theme. It must appeal to the audience's finest values and ideals and inspire them. And the third is impact. The leader always seeks to persuade the audience of some fact or idea. The very best speeches change hearts and minds and seem as revelatory. We have observed the presence of emotional intelligence in communication. That leads us in what is emotional intelligence. It is the art of balancing between what we feel and what we think. It is the ability to regulate, recognize, and effectively communicate our own emotions of the other people. It is the skill to perceive, assess, and manage the emotions of oneself and that of others. What's really important here is emotional intelligence is not just the opposite, or rather the opposite of intelligence. It is not the triumph of heart over mind. It is rather the unique intersection of both. That's the beauty of emotionally intelligent communication. There are 4 components that comprise emotional quotient. They are divided into 2 segments, the self and the social. Self-awareness, which is the first to come in order, allows us to see things from the perspective of others. Practice self-control, work creatively and productively, and also experience pride in ourselves and our work, as well as to possess and develop that self-esteem, which is very important. It is to be able to identify one's emotions, how you feel about various things. We can go about our day without giving our inner self any extra thought, which generally happens. Whereas we must focus our attention on that inner self and ability to self-evaluate our behavior and emotions towards others. And last but not the least, to possess self-confidence and self-belief. Self-management is the skill which allows us to maximize our productivity, improve our workplace performance, and helps to efficiently achieve the professional goals. To manage self, we require various skills. To name a few: self-control, adaptability, transparency, achievement drive, initiative, time management, self-motivation, stress management, and accountability. The third in order, which is in the second segment of social, it is the social awareness, which is an ability to recognize and understand the moods of others through their body language and facial expressions. This helps in an appropriate response. It comprises 3 elements. Empathy is the ability to understand the emotions and viewpoints of others, whereas service ethics is the ability to understand and meet their needs. And organizational awareness is to understand the workplace dynamics and the expectations. To increase social awareness, we have a few tips, which is practice the art of listening. Greet people by their names. Observe one's body language, because we know it's the 93% which is the non-verbal communication. So body language is really significant. And of course, carpe diem, that is live in the moment. Practice the cultural protocols. This leads us into the 4th component, which is relationship management. As the current era is all about networking, we talk about relationship management here. It is an ability to build relations in and outside one's team. and also to be able to communicate in all interactions. The competencies for which are inspirational leadership that people would voluntarily follow, influence to build a consensus, and win people's support by being able to focus on what is important to them. Developing others by recognizing their strengths and challenging them to develop. Communication should be in the right emotional tone. To become a change catalyst, always be willing to question the established ideals and initiate new ideas and recognizing when change is needed. The ability of conflict management is realizing when a situation is heading towards conflict and taking quick and decisive action to resolve it. Coming to the next one, which is very important and which actually we are talking about in this context, which is building bonds and collaborating besides teamwork, which are imperative. The uniqueness of mankind is that they communicate and they interact to express their thoughts and emotions. Therefore, after looking at emotional intelligence, now we'll discuss what is the relation between the two, communication and emotional intelligence. How are they interwoven, if at all they are? Communication is no more the very rudimentary understanding of the concept as a two-way process. With the increased global interaction and in the now's era of complexities, the spectrum of communication has expanded dynamically and is pivotal to success. It has become much deeper and more intense. Hence, it needs to be more sensitive to human emotions. Now we rather look at it as a channel of emotions. Hence, emotional quotient is significant to communication. The four components of these intersecting constructs are perceiving emotions, which is the ability to identify emotions of self and others. The second is understanding emotions. It is to comprehend emotional information about relationships. It also is the transition from one emotion to another. Then comes using emotions, which is to harness emotional information and directionality to enhance thinking. Whereas in the last, it is to manage emotions and emotional relationships for personal and interpersonal growth. Strategic communication certainly does not imply manipulation. It rather connects the dots for positive outcomes. A strategic talk bridges the gap between the intent of the communication and how it is perceived. It ensures to not lose the substance in course of understanding what has been said. Albert Einstein rightly said, "If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough." Strategic communication is much practiced in the realm of management. I am no authority in the field of management, but this is my understanding, as I've already said. It has established the significant role of communication in leadership. Many scholars have also advocated the need for leader communication trainings. Scholars of strategic communication have presented the best practices of emotionally intelligent communication style. They have propagated the 3 speech acts as being the stimulants in enhancing the emotional quotient index of leaders' communication, which should be direction-giving language, meaning-making, and empathetic. Studies have contributed new insights about how leaders' conscious application of speech can positively influence workers' behavior. Leaders use direction-giving language to give clear instructions regarding the individual work responsibilities and the statement of purpose, whereas the meaning-making transmits cultural norms and expectations from the employees to align their work orientation and enhancing performance. An empathetic language forges interpersonal bonds between a leader and the follower. So now let's take a look at these best practices explicitly under the 3 speech acts. Expectation setting of KRAs should be distinctive. Feedback should be given for positive reinforcement of good performance, and also the feedback should be shared in a constructive manner for the areas of improvement in order to boost their performance. The work-related instructions should be easily understandable, and helpful direction should be given to improve or boost performance. Besides this, extending clear instructions for solving problems, providing relevant information about changes that have taken place in past, or something which is to happen in coming times. Organizational information should be shared which is needed for better performance, and also to share information about various achievements at the organizational level. The meaning-making language is employed to tell the employees about various protocols to be observed, to share the information regarding the key events of the organization. It is also about creating awareness amongst them about the existing opportunities that they may avail to. This speech act is also to share stories of people who work hard and are admired in the organization. Besides them, to tell the team about those who have been rewarded and recognized for their significant contribution in the company's development. It is to provide the new entrants with information about the organization's culture, to tell them what they need to do to fit into, and also to sensitize the existing people about how to succeed within the system, and to educate them about how to establish the system in relevant for how the established system is relevant for their jobs. The third speech act, which is empathetic language, is to show trust in the people. Furthermore, to spend time talking with them, to encourage them for their effort. Besides this, it is to express concern towards their professional well-being and development. The leader must give importance to their job satisfaction. It also is instrumental in helping them to nurture good relations with others. Most importantly, it is to be empathetic towards their needs. The research has proved the positive outcomes of strategic communication. It has been further observed that when all these 3 speech acts are put in use together, they result into enhanced employee engagement, organizational commitment, and positive outcomes. Thus, the use of emotional intelligence makes communication very effective. Let's take a look at this famous excerpt by Mahatma Gandhi. In the democracy which I have envisaged, a democracy established by non-violence, there will be equal freedom for all. Everybody will be his own master. It is to join a struggle for such democracy that I invite you today. Once you realize this, you will forget the personal differences and think of yourselves as Indians only, engaged in the common struggle for independence. It's no cat in the bag that Mahatma Gandhi drove the entire nation in the freedom struggle, and most importantly, through non-violence, which would have been an unbelievable mode of such a struggle. Yet, through motivating language, he led the path of millions, gave them a direction, and successfully accomplished the goals. Thus was his power of communication that brought a change. Now, we look at this speech as a hands-on to analyze the impact of the leader's communication on his followers. We'll categorize the differently highlighted sentences of the speech according to the 3 speech acts that we just discussed as being a proven model of an emotionally intelligent communication. In the democracy which I have envisaged, a democracy established by non-violence, there will be equal freedom for all. This part of the excerpt falls under the Meaning-Making Speech Act. Through this, the leader sensitized the followers about the organization and its culture. Here, the nation is to organization, and the next one is everybody will be his own master. It is to join a struggle for such democracy that I invite you to take. Here, direction-giving language is employed to clearly tell the duties of the followers and goals that need to be achieved. The leader instructs on what the role is of each individual in the set target. What needs to be observed is that the kind of language used by the great orators is not at all an imposing or a dictating one. The words chosen are not at all intimidating or insulting. Rather, they infuse not only motivation, but also the self-esteem. The language is full of humility and welcoming. In the last part here, once you realize this, you will forget the personal differences and think of yourselves as Indians only, engaged in the common struggle for independence. Here is the use of empathetic language, which touches the emotional chord by establishing a bond and expressing his concern towards their needs and well-being. The need of the follower in this context is freedom, and the leader, through such a conducive speech, expresses his concern towards it. He also guides and motivates them the way to achieve their goal. We quoted a few examples from history. Why go far? We can take to the current scenario when this emotionless pandemic has hit us. The leaders of our country quickly took to address the nation and employed all the 3 speech acts to bring all to the common platform and think alike. We were made to understand our role and responsibilities, but not in isolation, rather in terms of the society as a whole, and also by doing so, what climate it would create around to save us from the pandemic. Besides this, empathy was focused at by conveying that they were by us. Something to note is that the words chosen were such as plead or agraha. Time and again, this word kept buzzing, agraha, were repeatedly used instead of dictating and challenging language. The practice of emotionally intelligent communication will induce a positive organizational culture. Hence, it's the leaders' motivating language that not only drives them towards better work performance, but also enhances their commitment towards their job and subsequently the organization at large. It infuses the spirit of belongingness and also the sense of ownership in whatever one does. Such elements are conducive for self-development. They stimulate the desire to achieve par excellence and get recognized. One important factor to be mentioned here is that as we are talking about leaders' communication style, we don't mean the person in authority. The leader-follower relation doesn't only imply to the relation between a boss and a team. A leader could be anyone who's influential, visionary, and empathetic. And why limit the concept to only employees? This practice should be stretched beyond this frame. As being educators, our communication with our students is both crucial and critical. Our interpersonal communication with our students, which will help in nurturing them as better individuals, efficient professionals, and prudent citizens. However, there's no one-size-fits-all style of communication. It's rightly said You must strive to find your own voice, because the longer you wait to begin, the less likely you are to find it at all. It certainly differs from leader to leader and person to person, because every individual is unique and the uniqueness reflects in their interpersonal communication. Therefore, we must find our own communicative style which possesses high emotional quotient to be successful not only professionally but also personally, as we the Homo sapiens are social animals and a person cannot live life in compartments. Hope this session will be of some help in carving our communication style. Thank you so much and have a great day ahead.